Yo, what is going on, homies? It's your boy Stumped back for another OPTC video, and in today's video, as you saw by the title and the thumbnail, we are taking on the Forest of Training using my boy Halloween Shanks. So today we're hopping into the Magnetic Forest against Kid, and we were with the relief of Luffy Sanji. It sort of buffs a lot of rainbow captains, you know. So with the release of Luffy Sanji, I think now is probably the perfect time to take our man Halloween Shanks into some of the harder content in the game, and funny enough, we actually managed to get it done. Luffy Sanji it just unlocks so many different teams. Unfortunately, they are slow and they are stally, but it still does unlock them. Now, in this particular run today, this is very much just a showcase video of what you guys can do with the power of a friend of Luffy Sanji. But if you want to try this is more for the people that just like to run these to particular types of units. So our leader is the man Halloween Shanks. Now, if you guys don't care about the team, just want to see the run, timestamps will be in the description below. His special doubles the normal attacks of Cerebral and Slashes for 3 turns, so basically 2 times color affinity. And then if you have 4 or more int characters on the team, which doesn't really matter because we don't actually have that for this particular run, but his captain ability is 4 times to int, maximum of 5 depending on the tap timing of the previous hit. But then he's a 3.75 times rainbow booster. He also boosts crew's HP by 1.3 times the amount of the color, and then heals 0.5 his recovery at the end of the turn. So when you partner this guy up with Luffy and Sanji, it actually works really, really well because of his perfect hit mechanic giving you healing, which can then go into the overheal mechanic. So he's like another way for Luffy Sanji to stall if you don't have your own Luffy Sanji. And like I said, we did manage to get it done with this particular team. Now, this team is drenched in support, as you can see. We are running Sabo and Koala. They are our attack booster. Because we are running all Free Spirit or Cerebral units, all of them have that tag. Their switch ability is very, very good for that as well, as we can get a 1.5 times color affinity, as well as removing paralysis on themselves. But their special does 2.25 times attack to Cerebral and Free Spirits, which is great. And they rotate block obs. Very, very, very strong sub. I have Mind Limit Break Key. That's definitely not essential for this particular team, but like having the Limit Break Key, honestly, is not the worst move in the entire world. Next, we have Luffy and I almost said Luffy Sanji. We have Luffy, Tara, and Zoro Jiro. So these guys are actually really, really cool, as they are a slasher and a free spirit booster. They give 2.75 times orb boost if you've eaten a bunch of TND or Wano orbs. And there are 3 times chain lock. Now, for this particular team, everyone has free spirit, everyone has slasher, except for Viva Rebecca when they're dual form, but that's a different state. You can actually still get the free spirit tag on VB. So these guys work very, very well. Their switch ability is absolutely god mode, and that's what makes them essential for this particular team, as they remove bind. They also remove slot bind and special bind too, which is handy. But the big thing here is removing bind, as we do need it for the Big Mom stage. Next, we have the goats of the forests. We have Vivi Rebecca. Their healing, their chain lock, everything about them makes them very, very good. But with the Kid Forest, there is a lot of damage reduction, defense up. So their special is actually very, very good at removing all of that as well. But the big reason they're here is for this. This switch ability is the real reason they're actually here. They're just that extra healing, just helps going into Luffy Sanji. They're just such a good sub for Luffy Sanji because of that heal mechanic. Finally, we have Usohachi. Usohachi is purely here for the delay and the defense up removal. I'll have a look into some replacements for this guy, as he's probably the only unit that is like truly replaceable on this team. I guess you could probably replace Sabo Koala, but having Sabo Koala there is really, really good because they can be an int unit, so it does help with a little bit extra damage for the Shanks captain ability. Usohachi is basically here for the what's his name stage, the killer stage, but honestly, like, you could probably just do the whole like penguin trick where you just bring a penguin and attack so you don't get the counter mechanic, and then sort of just kill him with normal attacks after that. But I'll have a look in and see if there's an int unit that can kind of do what he does. I would definitely replace Usohachi with that unit. Basically, you just need damage reduction removal as well as some delay. Finally, we are bringing a Luffy Sanji friend, as their overheal mechanic is essential, their healing's great, their tankiness is incredible, and with the Liberal Hind giving extra healing and extra recovery to our captain, we can just get more and more healing. Luffy Sanji are actually a Psy unit too, so you can use their special as well, or the ship special, to give you a few more cooldowns. But other ships that could work here, you could use something like the Urouge Jackson, that could work well, or even something like the Miguelo if you want to use something like that for damage reduction instead. Finally, if you have a look here, we are using some crazy supports, but funny enough, like, all of them aren't essential besides Halloween Ace. Halloween Ace is the only one that is required, as you do need the blind removal on the Big Mum stage. There's no other, like, just straight blind removers, unfortunately, that you could replace him with. But the rest of the supports aren't actually essential. Markano makes the X-Drake, Hawkins, and Page 1 stage a lot easier, but it isn't essential. The Koroshiro support is great for that same particular stage, but I had my Usohachi special ready to go, and I also had my Vivi Rebecca special ready to go, so you don't actually need him either. And then finally, Konus. Konus is another support that I had on Usopp for that particular stage as well, in case I had to use Luffy Sanji special a little bit earlier. You just hit a perfect with Usohachi, and then it removes the defense up as well, so there's also that avenue for you guys as well if you have any of those supports. Say for example you don't want to use Kyorashiro, or you're trying to make the run faster, you could just use Konus. But like I said, I did have my specials ready to go on that stage to remove the defense up in other ways. So that's the team for you guys. That's enough about talking about that. It was a lot of fun actually making this team. It was a lot of fun doing the run. But let's hop into the forest now and let's take on Kid. Alright, so here we are on stage 12 against Beach, Grotti, and Vito. So on this particular stage, they have 10 turns of damage reduction and 10 turns of threshold, but like there's pretty much no way of getting rid of that, so you do want to just sort of use a special to burst through them here. So we're going to use the switch abilities of basically all of our units here, and then we're going to use our Luffy Sanji special. The reason we're using Luffy Sanji special is so we can get the big 5 times captain multiplier, as well as getting a full board of orbs, as well as a 2.5 times attack boost. Now you do want to focus on Beach first if you are using this team, as killing Beach is pretty much essential, as if you don't, he's going to blow away your units, like 2 random units, and then if you don't kill the 2 back units, Vito and Grotti, they're going to poison you for 2 turns. So you do want to make sure that you kill them on the second turn, and the best way to do that is to focus on Beige on turn 1. So again, we are going to use the switch abilities of all of our usual culprits, and that way we can get our color affinity boost, our chain lock, our T&D orb. It just, this team just has so much going for it with switch abilities. It's a lot of fun to use, but as mentioned in the intro, it is very slow and it is very stally. But saying that, it was very, very safe. Moving on to the next stage, we come up against Urouge. Urouge has 5 turns of defense up, so we are going to use the switch ability of Vivi Rebecca first. Then we can use their special for color affinity. Then we can switch with our Sabo Koala after that and use their special as well. That way we have a 2.25 times attack boost, a 2 times color affinity boost to our Cerebral Strikers, and we have a 2.5 times chain lock. We are going to switch into our Luffy units just so we have a few more red characters, and then we can actually just take out Urouge with our Cerebral strength units. We are just going to eat a couple meat orbs there though, as we do have like a little bit of over healing in us. But as you can see, we are healing around 5k from Shanks hitting his perfects as his captain ability kicks in, as well as the liberal hind healing on top of the actual meat orbs as well. So on the next stage, we come up against the Fire Breather and the Int, what's his name? I don't know his name, the little bug man. He looks like a bug man. With this particular turn, there is a little bit of RNG, obviously, when it comes to getting orbs. But with my particular team, I do have my Usohachi and my Shanks rainbowed. That way I can actually get Barrier Pen. Now, the best thing about Barrier Pen is Barrier Pen actually states that when you are at max HP. Now, max HP when you have the overheal mechanic is actually just the 46k, not the double HP. So pinch healing, as long as you have the overheal in effect, pinch healing is always going to be active for these particular units. It's another like way of being stupidly overpowered if you haven't rainbowed your units. So for level 1 pinch healing, I think it's something like, it says like if you are at max HP, you ignore all barriers basically. So as you can see here, Shanks and Usohachi are actually doing fair damage on our Fire Breather friend. Now I do get quite lucky actually with some strength orbs, but it really doesn't matter because you just got to hit your perfects. Don't worry about the burn, as you do have the chain lock from Vivi and Rebecca. So you can actually just, like I said, you can just hit your grades to start the chain, and then with those 2 units hit your perfects. But we did get 2 strength units on our strength orbs on our units, and obviously with the help of Sabo Koala as well, being able to get a guaranteed strength orb, it does help out a lot. So I just actually hit with my strength orbs here and took him out that way. But like I said, you could just do the Barrier Pen trick, use the Barrier Pen, blast your way through it, easy claps. So now that the strength unit is dead, we are just going to take all of our focus onto the int unit. He's going to special reverses. He actually special reverses us all the way back to the beginning. So using specials up until this point is not an issue, as we are going to stall on this guy to get all of our specials back. So we do have the Liberal Hind to help us out with our Sanji, so we can use that. Basically, you want to move on when you have your Usohachi special ready to go. You can stall a little bit longer if you need to for your other cooldowns, but we are going to do a couple of turns of stalling on the next stage against, what's his name, Killer, as we do get 2 turns of delay with Usohachi, so we can do that. So I'm going to fast forward to where we're about to move on, so I'll see you guys there. Actually, something to note before I go, you really want to make sure you're obviously using the switch abilities of Sanji and Vivi Rebecca, because if you don't use the switch abilities of Sanji and Vivi Rebecca, you won't be getting the healing. So as you can see here, we can actually just stall on this guy for as long as we need to. Just with meat orbs and stuff like that, it works really, really well. Alright, so now that the Bugman is dead, we can move on to the next stage against Killer. So against Killer, he puts up 5 turns of Rainbow Shield, and he only allows us to use 1 special. Usohachi is actually just an absolute monster for this particular piece, like this particular stage, as we can get 2 turns of delay against Killer. We don't have to worry about that counter mechanic that he has, and then we can just take our time to take him down. So we are going to use the switch abilities of all of our dual units here. That way we can get color affinity, we can get a chain lock, and that way our Sanji unit is actually going to be hitting very, very hard. Now, whenever you have Koala available, as she is an int unit, as well as having Shanks, you do want to make sure you hit a perfect before you attack with them, so you're getting the 5 times multiplier that Shanks can provide. It just gives you a heap of extra damage. Now, we didn't have an orb on Shanks, so that's why I started the chain. But as you'll see as well, just by hitting our perfects, we are getting quite a lot of healing from our boy Shanks, as the Liberal Hind gives more recovery to our captain as well. So the 0.5 times his recovery gets a lot bigger because of the extra recovery that Liberal Hind can provide. And that way we just have another way of keeping their health at max HP, or the double max HP, for when we actually need to stall out and get our specials back. So as you'll see, we can just use the switch abilities, so we get color affinity and a chain lock, and that way we can take out Killer in the 3 turns. And at that point, we have all our specials back nice and early. On the next stage, we come up against Big Mom, and now this is where a little bit of RNG comes into play, but you can reload the app. Now, you don't want your Luffy, Sanji, and your Luffy Zoro to get binded. If they get binded, just close the app and reopen it, and that way she'll bind another 2 random units, as both of their switch abilities are used here to remove the bind, as well as the help from the support of Halloween Ace. So Halloween Ace is going to remove 3 turns, they're going to remove the other 2, and with sockets, you can remove the final 3. So that way we can switch with our Luffy Sanji, and then we can use our Luffy Sanji special. Now, ideally, you want to switch into the strength version of Luffy and Sanji, as that way you can be a strength unit when you move into the next stage. Just with the switch abilities and Luffy Sanji special, we can actually take out Big Mom, easy claps with our perfects, and then move on to the next stage against Basil Hawkins, X Drake, and Page 1. Against X Drake, Page 1, and Basil Hawkins, they are going to remove the sound effects for 3 turns, which is annoying, but that's where Markano is amazing, and they put up 1 turn of defense up, which is very annoying. Now, I have the support of, what's his name, is it Kyoshiro, Zoro's master, to remove the defense up with the Luffy Zoro special, but you can use the Kona support that I have on, what's his name, Usohachi as well, or you could actually just use your Vivi Rebecca special here as well. Vivi Rebecca is obviously going to remove the defense up and give you a 2 times color affinity boost to your Cerebrals and your Strikers, but it's really not that essential. Now, what I would do here is attack with your Luffy Sanji there instead of the Usohachi. That way you'll actually get the Usohachi attack on Page 1 and just make it a little bit easier to kill him. So because I actually didn't kill Page 1 or didn't do any damage to him, I was sort of freaking out with damage here. So I decided to use the Shanks special here. Whether or not that's actually essential, it's another story, but because we have 3 Cerebrals on this team and it's a 3-turn color affinity buff, we can actually get a lot more damage. Now, again, this is where a little bit of RNG comes into play, but we cannot get around it by closing and reopening the app. So Page 1 is actually going to blow away 2 random units. You don't want him to blow away your captain, so just reload the game. Alright, so we're back, and he didn't blow away our captain, which is great. Plus, he didn't blow away our one, you just want one of your Cerebral units here. You don't really need both of them. We did get fairly lucky with both of them, but as long as you've got one of them, you should be okay. Now that we got our captain back, obviously our captain multipliers are in effect, so we can actually do some decent damage. And then because we have our cerebral units, as you'll see from that 2x color affinity that Halloween Shanks provides, we can take out page 1 on that turn. Now, you do have another turn that you can use before he does his big death hit, so don't worry. Again, you can just use that same tactic to take him out there. On the next stage, we come up against King. So King puts up 3 turns of damage reduction and threshold, and then he glooms us for 3 turns. Again, this is where the switch abilities of Luffy Sanji and Luffy Zoro are amazing, because we can remove another 2 turns of the gloom, but our ship is blinded for 4 turns. After the first turn, King is actually going to start putting up some color barriers, but because he doesn't have a burn or anything like that, we can actually just keep healing with the switch abilities of our Luffy Sanji, as well as hitting perfects with our Shanks captain ability as well. So it's very easy to stay alive against King here, as he doesn't do too much else, but every single turn he is going to put up a color barrier, and then he's going to make that color unmatching. Ideally, what you want to do here is you want to stay as Koala, so you can switch into Sabo when you see the red orb barrier. So it goes, what is it? Quick, and then it's Int, Dex, Strength. But I did actually find a bit of a glitch with this particular content on this particular stage, as I actually stuffed up with my switch abilities. So I went to reload the app and something funny actually happened. But you'll see that at the end. But the idea of this, so you don't have to reload the app, is to stay as Koala. And that way, when the red orb barrier comes, you can switch into Sabo, guarantee yourself a strength orb, and then use their special. When you use their special, every strength orb, and that will basically be counted as non-beneficial. So you can make your orbs matching there. And then that way we can actually take out King easy peasy. But I'll explain that when we get to it. So that was when that barrier there was the int barrier. The next one should be the dex barrier. And now the dex barrier is up, he actually loses his defensive effects. Now, this is where I actually did goofed. And I actually switched into Sabo here because I did see the cheeky little dex orb down the bottom there, and I thought that I could get quite a bit of damage out, but totally forgot that my tactic here was to actually switch into Sabo to guarantee myself a red orb. So I was sitting there thinking, oh yeah, like I could switch now, I could do damage, but something in the back of my head was telling me not to. I did it anyway, and it made things a lot trickier than it needed to be. But it did open my eyes to a bit of a glitch in the game that may help you guys beat this particular piece of content if you are struggling with it. So I tried to do as much damage as I possibly could against King, and as you'll see here, it's definitely not worth it. I realized that like straight after. I was like, wow, I'm doing really like no damage whatsoever. So I decided to eat those meat orbs instead and get a bit of healing back. Now that he's on the strength orb barrier, we get our liberal hind back as well, so we get some more damage. But this is where I sort of stuffed up. You want to be Koala so you can switch into Sabo. The idea of switching into Sabo is to guarantee yourself that strength orb, and then you can switch into your Luffy units, so that way you have more strength units, as well as switching into Rebecca, so then you can have the strength unit down there as Rebecca as well. Now the idea here is to use Viva Rebecca's special as well as Sabo Koala's special, but after I just sort of used all my switch abilities, I realized I lost the strength orb that was on Shanks, and I decided to reload the app. Funny thing is, when I reloaded the app, we actually come back into the content and we get the strength orb unfavorable, but King actually has a dex orb barrier. So I thought this was really funky and actually worked in my favor, as I had a dex orb. Ideally though, it probably wouldn't work in your favor that way, but like I said, I would just make sure that you are in Koala so you can switch into Sabo. But it was really funny when this happened, because I was like, hang on, it says strength is unfavorable and he's got the dex orb barrier. So for me, it actually worked in my favor here, as I used the Sabo Koala special to remove the strength orb as unbeneficial. Then I can use my Vivi Rebecca's special to get the color affinity to my cerebral units. And then I can actually switch with Luffy Sanji, and that way I can actually make recovery orbs matching. And funny enough, I actually had a recovery orb on my Sabo Koala, so it actually made that beneficial there too. So I did use the special of Usohachi just to get some cooldowns here as well. And what you could actually do here is, if you like, well, any time throughout this run actually, you can use the Shanks super typing, as I don't actually use it on this particular run at all, but if you want to, you definitely can. I'm trying to think of a stage that doesn't have the defense, like the defense removal. Does Kaido have it? Yeah, Kaido's got it. So you have to use it like earlier in the run, where there is, like, you can actually set the defense lower. You have to go back and have a look at that and let me know in the comment section below where you could use that at the best time. So on the next stage, we come against Kaido. Kaido on the first turn doesn't do too much besides make like yellow characters like no damage. But then after that, he gives us 5 turns of burn, and that burn is like a 25k burn. He also gives us 10 turns of 2 specials only as well. So we really like want to stall that out, but you actually don't have to after I got to the end. So because there is a burn though, you do want to just hit your greats to do as much damage to Kaido as you possibly can. Now, I thought that I had to basically stall out the 10 turns, but you don't actually have to. You can actually use the Shanks special on the turn that you're going to kill Kaido. And then you can move into the final stage that way, as we only really need our Luffy Sanji special and our Luffy Zoro special. Now the idea is when you do kill Kaido, you do want to make sure that you are Sanji, so you can switch into Luffy, and that way you can make recovery orbs beneficial for the final stage when you need to use the Luffy Sanji special. But I'll see you at the end of this stage. I'm going to fast forward until then. Alright, so now that we've got Kaido nice and low, we can finish him off. Now the idea against Kaido was literally just keep switching with your dual units. You can get recovering orbs on your Luffy Sanji every single turn, and you get the healing from Vivi Rebecca. The actual getting recovery orbs like guaranteed is just one of the most overpowered mechanics, especially for content like this, where you can actually like heal basically the exact same amount of damage that you're actually taking, which is actually nuts. Like it's pretty crazy. As I mentioned though, you do want to make sure that you are switching into your Sanji on the final stage. Into your Luffy on the final stage. So make sure you stay as Sanji when you kill Kaido. Once Kaido's dead, we can move on to the final stage against Kid, and basically we just use all our specials and we just win. It's not even a contest at this particular point. So Kid actually uses his red Haki to remove cumulative buffs, which means that we lose the cumulative buff from our Luffy and Zoro, but that's fine as their orb buff without any TND orbs is actually still very, very strong. So on the final stage here against Kid, we can use you want to switch into Luffy, and then we can use our Luffy Sanji special for attack boost. Then we can use our Luffy and Zoro special for the chain lock and the orb boost. And with that, basically GG. We can use the special of Shanks or Vivi Rebecca as well to get color affinity to our cerebrals. Obviously, use your Luffy Zoro special first so you get more damage. I did goof there and I just switched with the Vivi Rebecca first. I always forget that Luffy Sanji actually has the chain lock mechanic in them as well, so there's also that. After you've got the color affinity from Shanks, you can switch with your Sabo and Koala, and if you want to, you can just use their specials as well. That way you can actually just get like better stats, but it really doesn't matter as this team has a lot of damage. As you can see, we don't even attack with our Shanks or our Vivi Rebecca. I tried to end with Shanks, but it just wasn't meant to be. So there you guys go. That was my boy Halloween Shanks taking down the Forests of Magnetic against Kid with the help of Luffy Sanji. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure to go down there and belt that like button. And if you want to stay up to date with more OPTC content I post, hit the big red subscribe button too. But guys, most importantly, enjoy the rest of your day. As always, I thank you for watching. I'll catch you all in the next time. Lates!